So I think you'll get to know our panel as we talk with you, and we're going to try to get right to something that I think will be vitally important to all the entrepreneurs who are here. And that is, we've just talked about design for all. And if you're an entrepreneur, you obviously want to design for all. That's a pretty good sized market, all. But it's hard to open your doors and immediately have all be your customers. So what you really often think about is, how can I kickstart my business? Who would be a really good person to go talk to, who could aggregate a lot of customers for me? And so our panel today, Distribution to Many, is kind of the follow-up to Design for All, and we're asking the question of, well, how would you kickstart it? And we're very privileged to have two panelists with us today who need no introduction because they'll be getting none, and but who, more to the point for you, collectively represent about 1 million end users in the aging population, and are people who really enable those aggregators we talked about. So with that as an introduction to our panelists, let me just ask you each, so that you can kind of introduce yourself, to tell us a little bit about you and your business, and your customers and their end users. Scott?
Good morning. My name is Scott Collins. I'm with Linkage Ventures, and we're a membership organization that works with over 400 senior living communities around the country. And our members represent everything from skilled nursing to assisted living to continuing care retirement communities, home and community-based services, hospice, and so forth. And we're really 3 connected companies. Linkage, our parent, is a not-for-profit membership organization. Linkage Solutions is really a group purchasing organization focused on things like food, medical supplies, office products, pharmaceuticals, and helping our members buy those more efficiently. And then finally, there's Linkage Ventures, where we pool our capital along with that of our founding members, who are all not-for-profit senior living providers, to invest in businesses with a focus on the aging population. And obviously, our customer's customer are seniors across the entire spectrum, from those who choose to age in a retirement community to those who are aging successfully in their own home.
And Joanne, could you tell us a little bit about Age Tech, which is really an exciting new aggregator or enabler of aggregators?
Right. Does this sound like it's on? No. No. Okay. Thank you. Yes. Okay. Yes, Age Tech is a partnership between Aging Services of California, which represents the senior living field, akin to what Scott just described, and the California Association of Health Services at Home, which is the home care industry in California, representing the certified home health field, as well as private home care companies, hospice organizations, care management organizations. And the reason we came together is we really want to accelerate the adoption of technologies in our fields. We think we are slow to come to the game. There are some very good reasons for that. And Age Tech's purpose is to promote the use of connected independence technologies among our members, to educate them, to get them involved in pilots, to expose them to people and companies like yours, and to also change policy in California that will support the reimbursement and use of these.
So let me ask each of you, and Joanne, maybe you'll start, and let's try to make this concrete. If I were an entrepreneur with a product, I'm really interested in what would be the best way to approach you. So to make that concrete, let's just say, for example, perhaps, I don't know, let's say I was an entrepreneur that had a brain fitness company that had a really cutting-edge technology proven to improve memory, reasoning, and thinking in, say, I don't know, more than 60 peer-reviewed published articles, with, experience with maybe 100 retirement communities, some sort of example like that. How would I go about approaching it?
No, that's too easy an example, Jeff, because brain science
let's stick to that
is
example.
a lot further along. All right. Well, the first part of the approach, which you well know, is to understand the problem that we, the providers, are trying to solve. And it falls into basically 3 areas. How do we improve outcomes for the people we serve? How do we lower costs, particularly labor costs? And how do we improve the satisfaction and the quality of life of the people we serve? So those are the categories. Now, you see on that slide up there that providers or companies come and they say, well, we're going to give you a great marketing advantage. People will move into your communities. People will refer to your home care company because you have this product. And usually that's the weakest argument. Yes, there are some, for example, if a community can say, we have this great brain fitness program with state-of-the-art Posit science technology, then that could swing somebody over the edge, but there has to be a whole lot of other things that are equal. It's rarely a deciding factor. It is a nice icing on the cake. We hear companies say it'll decrease your labor costs. And what we want to know is show us an experience, maybe it's in that peer-reviewed study, where your nursing hours or your productivity in home care aid visits really went up. It'll improve your outcomes. It'll lower your falls. It'll decrease hospitalizations. We are all about that, but show us examples, particularly peer examples where that has happened, and it'll save you money. And that's the return on investment, but we don't just want a formula. What we'd like to see is, we piloted this, we used this for a year in this agency or in this community, and they found that it saved them, X thousands of dollars. Sometimes that's not possible, but that's what providers are looking to hear. And
So would I come and pitch you on that, and then would you take me to visit folks who are your affiliates and members, or how would this work? Do I pay you a commission? And I think Scott has a lot to add here. We aggregate a lot of things. Scott and I are both involved in group purchasing organizations where we aggregate, the big spends, food supplies, pharmaceutical supplies, linen supplies, construction supplies, office supplies. Technology is not to the stage of being so well standardized and so well categorized that it can be easily aggregated. So to answer your question, what we would do is we would try to link you up with organizations where we know they have a problem where they're looking for a technology solution. We would expose you and our members to education about what you're doing. We would connect, like Mary's connecting here, in terms of networking. I would say it's the soft side of what we can do for you, the soft leads as opposed to a purchasing contract. I don't know how you describe it. Which is a perfect segue. How do you, Scott?
There's a lot of similarity between what our organizations do. Typically, we like to be approached through either our members, which is where we get most of our ideas and innovation. They are every bit a part of Linkage as our staff is, and work with us through a variety of different councils. In fact, in many cases, we don't get a vote on ultimately what contracts are awarded. The members make that decision. We facilitate the process. So, our members bring us tremendous introductions. Also working through third parties, like a Mary Furlong or Lori Orloff has been a great way for companies to approach us and begin to get our ear. We get lots and lots of phone calls, but I think now what we're seeing is that we would like to get involved maybe earlier on in the design and concept stage where we can provide access to our members and their residents as a network for test bedding ideas and innovation. So that's kind of adding on to what Joanne said. That's how we typically like to be approached.
So I think this is tremendously helpful, not only to understand how to approach each of you, but also just generally to understand how to approach not just aggregators, but customers, and what sorts of things to do and not do. But to just push this a little further as it relates to you both, and Scott, maybe you can speak to this, especially with respect to the new ventures that you look at. How do you decide that a new area is an area worthy of spending your time? And it's not an existing need. It's not like getting milk or toilet paper. It's a new area. So how do you pick a new area? And then once you've picked it, how do you pick amongst possible providers?
Yeah, great question. What we try and do is broaden out our thinking in terms of aging services. And so while we work directly with our members and so many of the ideas and innovation come from them, we're really helping them connect to corporate America and really begin to frame up a comprehensive picture about the needs of an aging population and really kind of flipping this paradigm and building on what Jody talked about earlier. It's really about thriving. And so much of the connection to our members in the industry has been about declining health, and it's a place to go when you're no longer vibrant, and I will tell you that's changing and changing rapidly. And so it's looking to build these coalitions that can really redefine the whole opportunity in the aging space. So that's where we're trying to look to in terms of getting new ideas, and then working with our members to see, okay, here's 5 different opportunities. Let's prioritize the ones we think match up well with the mission of Linkage and its members. Because there's lots of great opportunities out there, but they may not be a good fit for us, and we may not be a good fit for them. So it's looking back at our mission and our strategy and saying, where do we want to prioritize? Where do we want to allocate resources in terms of further investment? And then once we do hone in on that, then again, it's a member-driven decision through our Linkage Ventures group to deploy capital or additional resources in marketing or promoting those services, technologies, or products throughout our alliance.
And so how long does that kind of process take?
On our traditional side, where it might be, say, our dining council and selecting different food items to contract with, that can be a very short process, maybe a 3 to 4 hour meeting. When we talk about some of these more long-range opportunities, you know, right now we just launched our Innovation Council in November, and so we're 6 months into it. We've made terrific progress. I would say we're still developing that answer, but we would say more on the order of 4 to 6 months to really work through an investment process where we would actually put capital behind it.
And could either of you give an example of areas right now where you're proactively seeking solutions that are new?
Well, I'd say look at the pain points of organizations. Let me use a home care example rather than a senior living example. The pain points are, how do we improve the outcomes, decrease hospitalizations, and how do we lower our transportation, our mileage, and our labor costs of sending providers all over? And so that leads to a lot of the telehealth technologies, and they are further along than many other of the, I'd say, remote activity monitoring technologies, because those are not as clearly tied to an outcome that means dollars for an organization. So, you know, that would be an example. And because it's further along, the process is, I shouldn't say standardized, I should say less random than the usual process. And I'd say once an organization decides it wants to invest in some kind of telemonitoring technology, it's probably a 3 to 6 month time period in terms of deciding which technology, and the #1 factor that influences choice is what your early adopters in your field, that is your peer providers, what they're using and what they're saying about it.
Right. And